Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. This is Sex and Suicide's Women Crush Wednesday. And I have a beautiful young woman in front of me named Monika Chhun. Mm-hmm. And Monika, tell me a little bit about yourself, because we were hooked up together through a mutual friend, Marlon Brown. And Marlon's been on the podcast and shared his story earlier. So shout out to Marlon. Thanks, buddy. Marlon was actually going to co-host tonight, but he decided he'd rather make some money, and we totally understand that. He's personal training right now. So thanks for putting us in touch. And I know you're listening, buddy. So thank you for that and all the support. So, Monika, tell me about you. You're a student at UWO here in London, Ontario, correct? Mm-hmm.
I'm just finished my third year, going into my fourth year, but not my final year. I'm taking a fifth year.
Okay.
For sure.
And what are you taking?
I'm taking psychology and health science right now. I just switched into health science from not sociology, criminology.
Criminology.
Yes.
Okay, good for you.
Yeah.
So what drew you towards psychology, just out of curiosity?
I just love understanding the mind, just the way that people think, and like just struggling with mental health is just like, I want to understand why people feel this way.
Right.
So yeah.
Do you think that's a common thing, just out of curiosity? Because my father's a physician. He's actually a surgeon. And I talked to him about some of the people that were drawn towards psychology and psychiatry. Mm-hmm. And he said they were some of the ones that were the furthest out there, like the wackiest bunch. Yeah. So I'm wondering, do you think that people that are kind of drawn towards mental health might actually be experiencing some mental health issues themselves? Do you think that there's any correlation there?
I think there is, because you just dealing with mental health myself, I want to understand myself. More. Why do I feel this way? Like, just get to the root of the issue, right?
Yeah. And do you find that you want to help other people in that regard too?
100%.
Right.
100%.
So what are your goals long term when you graduate from Western?
I hope to eventually be an occupational therapist, actually. Hopefully with some sort of, I don't know, elderly people I love to work with. I currently volunteer at a senior home with people with Alzheimer's, actually.
Oh, wow. Good for you.
Yeah. They're the sweetest people ever. And you just have to have just the utmost patience with them, because, like, you know, you talk to them and then leave for 2 minutes, and then you'll come back and they'll ask the same questions or say the same things.
Right.
And, like, you just have to have the patience.
Sure. I feel like I might be getting Alzheimer's already, because I feel like that's what I do right now. I feel like I have a tough time remembering what I ate for breakfast and what story I told you, at least lately anyway. Mm-hmm. So you're here this evening, and we appreciate you coming. Mm-hmm. How do you know Marlon? Tell me that story.
I met him through Spur Fashion Show. We did just a little launch video together. And after that, it was just kind of like small talk. I kind of saw him. I actually trained with a friend of his, Alan Wu, and Marlon would always be at the same gym. They trained at the same gym, so just kind of started talking to Marlon every now and then when I saw him at the gym.
How was the switch? Was there any bad blood with the trainers?
Well, like Alan, he's from Vancouver, so he's not here working. So I still wanted to train, and so Marlon's here. And so
right on,
you know.
And as I was telling you, I said, Marlon always gets these beautiful young women, and he's training all of them. It amazes me. And he always finds some fascinating people for me that have incredible stories. So I owe him he's, I'm in his debt, so to speak. So why don't you tell me a little bit about your experience at Western?
Well, honestly, I haven't really done much my first 3 years. In my third year, that's when I started to take on Spur Fashion Show. Like first and second year is just like no studying. That's it. I didn't really have an interest in extracurriculars, just because I was like I had social anxiety, so I was just drawn away from like any sort of social thing. Right. And so third year, I decided to join Spur Fashion Show, and that was the best decision I've ever made, because I met such amazing people, just supportive people who support me and my mental health through through whatever I'm going through. They are supportive. Right.
So you've mentioned mental health a few times and social anxiety, and I myself have dealt with anxiety as well, social anxiety too. When did you start having these mental health struggles, so to speak? Or when did you recognize it as such?
So it's been a long battle with mental health. I can probably go back to when I was actually 4.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
So when I was 4, I was selectively mute. So basically that means I I only talked to a select number of people. Like I would talk to my family. I had, a few friends at school, and those were the only people I talked to. I would not talk to any adults or any other kids in my class that I didn't know. And
Wow.
I actually had like a fear of adults at the time. Like they just scared the shit out of me. I don't know
Really?
why. Yeah.
Big
And-
people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
sure.
this went on until I was about 8. So 4 years of this. And throughout this, I actually had teachers who yelled at me because I wouldn't talk. Right.
Really?
And that just kind of made it
things
worse.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
Because I just became more and more scared of them. Right.
You didn't want to get yelled at. Who
Yeah,
would?
exactly. And so it wasn't until I was 8 where I had just the sweetest teacher, and that just kind of changed the way I thought about adults, because she was just so nice, right?
Right.
And so I actually asked a question, and some students had their hands up, and I raised my hand up, and all the kids around me, they're like,
It was an event.
this bitch doesn't know how to talk. Like, why is her hand up, and so my teacher saw me, and she chose me to answer the question, and I answered it. And all the kids were like, everyone's jaw just dropped, and you can hear like gasps in the back of the room, right? And everyone's staring at me. I was like, what?
How did you feel at that time?
I was just honestly
Did it feel good?
terrified. It was terrifying and good at once, because
Right.
like I had finally overcome this selective mutism,
Right.
But also like everyone was staring at me. I was terrified, and so I just
Sure.
looked at my teacher, and she just had the biggest smile on her face, and she just continued teaching. Like she didn't just create a fucking miracle, right?
Right.
So
Wow,
yeah.
that is crazy, because I don't remember fuck all about grade 3. Like I don't think I remember fuck all about public school really. So good for you. You remember when you were 4 and it started.
Yeah.
That's wild. So would you say that like around 8 years old is when you started talking to other people, or
Yeah, I started talking like whenever adults would talk to me, I would
you would
talk
still
to them.
respond?
Yeah.
So before that, were you just giving them like a blank stare and people thought
Honestly,
you were just
yeah.
a bitch?
Yeah.
What the fuck's wrong with this kid? Wow, I've only seen that. I've never seen that in real life before.
Yeah? Yeah.
Never. So it's a thing.
It's a thing.
Because I've seen it in a movie, and I can't remember what movie it was. It had like Martin Short in it, and anyway, sidetracking. But she had been through in that movie. She had been through an experience. I think she lost her mom or her dad, and she just kind of shut down. Did anything happen to you beforehand that led to that, or?
I don't quite remember, but I don't know why. I was just so terrified of adults. I was.
So you don't know if something happened previously to make you start fearing them. It was. I mean, obviously, you're doing a great job. You're already remembering it 4 fucking years old. I don't remember shit at that age, so good for you. So would you say that was, like, is that where the anxiety started, or would you say that's sort of a separate mental health thing?
I think that's definitely where my
the anxiety
started.
began?
Yeah.
Okay.
100%.
And then what happened around, like, as soon as you started, you were able to talk to people. Then sort of where does your story go from there?
So it was fine until I was about 12. Like my anxiety was fine. Like I wasn't anxious around like talking, being social, and like being social.
Right.
In grade 7 was when I started having just really bad self-esteem issues.
Okay.
I remember just like I stopped eating because I thought I was fat, even though like I was not fat ever.
Right. I believe that. Yeah.
I looked like a twig my entire life, except when I was a baby. I was a fat baby, but otherwise,
We're
like
all
I've
fat
been,
babies.
I was like a stick. I was so
Right.
skinny, and I thought I was fat. And like I stopped eating lunch. I stopped bringing lunches to school.
In grade 7.
In grade 7. And outside of school, I just tracked every single calorie that went into my body.
Wow.
And I refused to eat more than 1,000 calories a day.
Wow. Yeah.
At 12.
Are you okay? Is this bringing you back to that time
Yeah.
a little bit? That's okay. Take your time. Take your time, my dear. So did you develop then, was it an eating disorder at that age that you developed, or what would you classify that as?
I wouldn't say an eating disorder per se. I think an eating disorder would be like a lot more serious, but like
Right.
I mean, 1,000 calories a day, that's still serious and
Yeah,
stuff.
absolutely.
Yeah. But I
What
wouldn't.
made you pick 1,000 calories a day? Why 1,000?
I don't know. It's just like I just wanted to stop consuming so much. What I thought at the time was a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, poor thing.
Sorry.
That's okay. Take your time.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Woo. That's okay. And for everyone that could be watching, this is Monika's first time sort of going through her story from start to finish. So thank you very much for sharing it with us. Feel free to take your time. Everyone has sympathy and empathy and compassion that watches these things. So don't worry. It's just you and me here.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Awesome.
So it wasn't until I think grade 8 where I realized that I had to stop. It was because like a student told my teacher, my grade 8 teacher, that I wasn't eating lunch. And the student wasn't like concerned. He just wanted to be an asshole and like snitch on me. Yeah, pretty much. And so my
kids
teacher
are fuckers at that age, eh? I'm sure I was too, but
and so my teacher was just horrified with me. She's like, "Why are you not eating? You're so skinny already. Like, why?" And so like I remember she actually bought me lunch that day when she found out, and she just kept an eye on me ever since. Like throughout the rest of the year, she just made sure that I ate.
Really?
Yeah.
So how did that make you feel? I mean, were you pissed off that someone was kind of force feeding you, or did you kind of loosen up on the 1,000-calorie rule?
I definitely knew what I was doing was wrong, and like I just didn't want my teacher to tell my parents, right? I was just terrified of my parents finding out and getting into trouble with them. But
so were your parents making you lunch and you just weren't eating it?
Oh no, they never really made me lunch. I always made my own lunch ever since I was like 6. Probably.
Is this okay?
Yeah.
So is this part of your family background? Is that how that went, or was it like a strict upbringing, or
it was just like my parents worked a lot and they were really busy, so like I just
started taking care of yourself.
Yeah, pretty
amazing.
much. Yeah.
Well, that's amazing because my mom made my lunch until like I think the end of high school.
Really?
Yeah. She was a sweetheart though. Love you, Mom. But anyway, I sort of it was good, and it was also bad though too because I didn't really learn how to take care of myself until university, and in that at that time there was enough anxiety that I was dealing with that I was drinking and eating pizza, and you were already taking care of yourself in public school. Good for you, but not totally. I mean, you kind of. Do you recall where this whole 1,000-calorie thing came from at all? Like, did you just decide? Did you hear it from somewhere? Were you watching TV? It just seems like a really weird thing to develop for a kid.
Yeah,
out of thin air.
I honestly don't know. I just wanted to restrict myself, and then 1,000 just seemed like.
But were you reading anything?
No.
No. You just thought 1,000 calories. That's it. That's it.
Like I didn't even look at like fat. I didn't look at carbs. I didn't look at protein. Just like calorie intake was like I was obsessed with it. Like,
And do you think that in a sense was due to the mental illness, or?
I think it was just like this is
because I have heard that eating disorders, and I'm not saying this is an eating disorder. This is something that you obviously had to face at a young age. But I have heard that a lot of eating disorders is actually a mental issue to some extent.
I would 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
I think looking back now that this is when like my depression really started, just like my self-image type of thing. Like I was just obsessed over my image and I wanted to change it. And yeah.
So you think it was an image thing? Where do you think the image thing came from?
Honestly, I think a lot of it is due to my brother always, at this age, he would always emotionally abuse me. And so that was like, calling me stupid, calling me fat, saying I have no friends and things like that. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. And I mean, you seem like a very sensitive individual, and your brother probably didn't know what he was doing at that time, right?
This happened until like about 3 months ago when I cut him out of my life.
Oh, really?
Continued, yeah.
Oh.